What's up, boys? Coming here to break down Brandon Moreno versus Steve Erceg. I haven't done any research yet, so this is going to be my early thoughts and just my early leans. Let's get into it. First fight up, Austin Hubbard versus MarQuel Mederos. Austin Hubbard is a guy who wants to get you to the ground by getting takedowns, using his grappling, try to get a submission going. His hands aren't that bad. His output isn't that bad. I feel like he'll keep fighting for your money. His last fight, he went against Alexander Hernandez. He went to a split decision loss. I'd say that fight was pretty close. You definitely could have gave him that fight. Mike Figlack, he's alright. Markel Mederos, on the other hand, I'd say he likes the fight on the feet. He looks for the knockout blow. He has pretty calculated strikes. His last fight, he went against Landon. I'm pretty sure he was piecing him up, but we can just take a quick look. Oh, you know what? Looked like it was a pretty close fight, just based off the stats. I'd say that my memory of him is Mederos. He's pretty calculated. He's a pretty technical striker. He looks for the good shots. Looks like he can get taken down. He goes for his own takedowns as well. Got a knockout in his Contender Series win. I feel like Austin Hubbard, he definitely probably will be one of his toughest matchups. I feel like he's probably better than Landon Quianos. Um, just looking at his record, he's lost a split decision loss. Hasn't beaten anybody crazy good. I mean, 10-2 from the Contender Series guy. We can just take a look of 10-3. Yeah, he hasn't fought since. Looks like that retired him. The lean is going to be Markel Mederos, just because his striking is going to be better, and I think that he'll be able to stuff the takedowns of Hubbard. But Hubbard is pretty relentless. Looks like Tapology is picking Mederos 85%. Looks like they think it's going to go to decision. I would probably lean Torres decision, just because it seems like he does have knockout power, but if you're tough enough, if you're gritty enough, you can survive. Just think that this fight could be pretty close. I would have Mederos as the favorite in this fight. I wouldn't have it too heavy of a favorite, but Mederos by decision is going to be the early pick. Next fight up, Jamall Emmers versus Gabriel Miranda. Jamall Emmers, his striking is decent, but he's a bit unreliable. Gabriel Miranda, on the other hand, he has a really good submission game. He's really dangerous if he gets the fight to the ground. It looks like a lot of people are picking Emmers by KO. I do think this fight probably will end in finish either way. I think Miranda can find a submission here. I think that he's always live for a submission against somebody who isn't like crazy high level. I think that Gabriel Miranda can definitely find a submission in this fight. But I think that his stand-up is going to be not good enough. I think he can probably get the takedowns, but Jamall Emmers, I think he should just be the better overall fighter. I think that if he's able to keep this fight on the feet, it's going to be big trouble for Miranda. Just looking at the stats, Jamall Emmers, I remember in the Nate Landwehr fight, he dropped Landwehr, was piecing him up, and then got dropped himself and then got KO'd in the first round. And Bazooka ended up KOing him. So he does have knockout power. I think he got robbed in the Jenkins fight. Looking at Miranda, went against Chairez, got dropped. Ended up getting a takedown, so Chairez has some pretty good takedown defense, so that could mean that Jamall Emmers could get taken down. But I'd say that the pick is going to be Jamall Emmers, probably by KO, just because I think that both these guys are bringing the heat. I think they both are explosive, both trying to make something happen. I'd say the odds minus 220 for Emmers, I'd say is probably okay. I think that if you're on Miranda's side, probably the only thing you can bet on is the submission prop. Depending on what the odds are on that, is whether it's worth it or not. Jamall Emmers by KO is going to be my early pick, but I'm pretty decently confident in this fight ending inside the distance, so more confident in that than Emmers. Next fight up, Rafa Garcia versus Vinc Pichel. I'd say that Garcia, I think that he should just be able to get the takedowns, land enough damage to not get standed up. His last fight he lost against Grant Dawson, got destroyed, but this ain't no Grant Dawson. I think that he's proven that he can get the takedowns against people. Looking at his fights, he couldn't get any takedowns against Grant Dawson. Didn't get any takedowns against Clay Guida, but it seems like his hands are improving. Got 6 takedowns, 3 takedowns, and a loss. 3 takedowns, 7. I think he's proven to keep his game plan going, so if he's able to find advantages on the feet, he'll stay on the feet. But I think that if worst comes to worst, he'll be able to get the takedowns. Pichel seems like he's not that bad, but he is on the older side. How old is he? He is 42, actually. He's pretty old against 30. The pick is going to be Garcia for sure. I think that he probably wins this fight by decision, because I think that Pichel is still tough enough, and Garcia isn't no killer that's finishing a bunch of fools. So I think that Pichel is going to struggle in this fight. Should be. I'm feeling pretty confident about Garcia in this matchup just because he seems pretty safe. He'll get takedowns. Odds being minus 480. I honestly think that that's pretty good because Pichel, he's 42. Garcia, he's 30. He's getting into his prime. He's coming off a loss, so he's coming to prove something. He's coming to prove that he's still in it, that Grant Dawson loss is just a little setback. Pichel is a big step down from Grant Dawson, so Garcia by decision is going to be the pick. Pretty confident in Garcia. Next fight up, Julia Polastri versus Lupita Godinez. I think that this fight will be a back and forth fight. Polastri is a dog who will keep fighting, and same with Godinez. But Godinez is a bit untrustable, but she's been in the UFC a lot longer than Julia. She just lost. Godinez just lost to Dern and Genderoba, which are top level losses. Tabitha Ricci's win is pretty good. Elise Reed is a good win. Dakota is a good win. Corey McKenna split decision win for Julia. I'd say that's not the best sign, but she has shown that she just keeps going. Even if she's losing, she'll keep trying to do something, keep trying to win the fight. I'd say that in this fight, Godinez should be the favorite, and she is the favorite, minus 180. Seems like a lot of people are picking Godinez. Seems like everybody's picking this fight going to decision, which this is probably going to be a decision fight just because both girls are tough. I'd say that Godinez shouldn't be picked. No, 84%, that's for sure. But Polastri could get an upset, but she's not even that big of an underdog to be a big upset. I think that Godinez will be able to just work in the takedowns. Looks like she's pretty much getting in takedowns every single time. She's better than the other girl at takedowns. Lost to Dern, kept it competitive. Genderoba is one of the best grapplers in the division, so that's not a bad loss. Kept it decent on the feet, but wasn't able to do enough. I think that Godinez is a bit untrustable, but Polastri, she has good stand-up, it looks like, but I don't know. I also think that this fight could be back and forth. It could be maybe 29-28 victory for Godinez, but I'd say minus 180 for Godinez. Might be alright odds. Polastri, she's tough, but I'm a lot more confident in this fight going decision than any pick. So pick is going to be Godinez by decision. Next fight up, Costa versus Christian Rodriguez. Christian Rodriguez, he's the favorite. I honestly think that he should be the favorite. Costa is just coming off of a win against Fili 3 weeks ago, so he's quick turnaround. Same with Rodriguez 2 months ago. Austin Bashi cooked him. I don't know how he was the underdog in that fight. And I feel like he's finally getting some props and being the favorite instead of being the underdog against all these freaking up-and-comers. Got submitted against Julian Erosa, which Costa definitely has good submissions. And you know what? That was a surprising and a sneaky finish by Costa against Fili. Didn't really see that happening. Seems like people are picking Rodriguez, 65% towards him. I think that people should be leaning towards Rodriguez, and I'm leaning towards Rodriguez. Rodriguez, he has a really good stand-up game. I'd say that if Costa isn't able to get this fight to the ground, he probably will be in trouble just because I think that Rodriguez is the better striker in this matchup. But when you look at his record, he honestly is fighting a lot of young people, young prospects, up-and-comers. And Mel Costa, he's been through the ringer a little bit, like beating Rosas, young guy, not proven, was underdog. Simon, he was undersized as well. Rodriguez was a lot bigger. He missed weight on, I think, 2 or 3 of these fights, moved up to 145, robbed Bulgarian, lost to Rosa, beat Bashi, which is another unproven guy that was getting way too much hype. Costa, on the other hand, lost to Steve Garcia, which that man's is just a freaking brute force. Thiago Moises, that's not the worst of losses because I don't think Rodriguez is going to find a submission, or he's not really going to go look for takedowns either. So I think that this fight is just dependent on if Costa gets the takedowns. Costa does have some pretty good leg kicks. His striking isn't bad either, so he definitely can win on the feet here. But I'd say my lean is going to be Rodriguez just because I think his striking is going to be better. I think minus 165 odds on Rodriguez is pretty decent, but Costa could probably get an upset here, but I'm going to be leaning Rodriguez by decision. Next fight up, Ateba versus Jose Medina. Jose Medina, I've seen him in the UFC. He lost against Zach Reese by decision. He was getting pieced up really bad. Maybe had a resurgence in the third round, but he doesn't look necessarily that good. He lost a lot of weight from this fight, from his Magomed fight. Magomed also just killed him, but he killed him the whole fight. It looks like he's kind of just undeserving to be in the UFC. He lost his Contender Series fight, then gets in the UFC against Zach Reese to give him a little setup win, setup KO loss. But Jose Medina has proven that he's just got a granite chin. He's really tough. I think that him cutting down and losing more weight is definitely going to make his chin crack a little bit more, I'd say. And I've never seen this Gautier guy, but it probably looks like this guy is just like a knockout guy. Let's see. 5 knockout wins, 4 in the first round. Lost by decision before. Let's take a look at the guy. He 1-0. Looks like he's not fighting anymore, so not the best of looks. And it looks like he's really beating, 0-0, 0-0, 2-23. Absolute can, 0-1. It looks like he's been fighting cans. Even this 17-13 is a can. Let's take a look at his Contender Series win. Hasn't fought since. Not too long ago, though. Yeah, this guy could be completely ass. He could be too hyped. Minus 550 odds. I haven't taken a look at him, so I'm not quite sure, but the pick is definitely going to be Ateba because Jose Medina, he isn't that good, but he's just really tough. That's the best thing about him, but I'd say Ateba. He looks athletic. He looks pretty big. I'm going to be picking Ateba. Honestly, I'm going to lean towards decision just because I haven't seen any of him. I don't know how powerful he is. He hasn't really beaten anybody good. All his knockout wins are kind of just against bums, cans. Jose Medina has proven that he is tough, so the early lean is going to be Ateba by decision. But honestly, that could change just by looking at him. I don't know if he's fought anybody that good. If he's fighting absolute cans, then I guess we'll see. Pick is going to be Ateba by decision. Next fight up, Edgar Chairez versus CJ Vergara. Honestly, this should be a pretty easy win for Chairez here. He's a minus 265 favorite, and I think that's warranted. Vergara, he's tough, but he's gotten knocked out by Timorov, which he does have pretty good hands. He is pretty fast. He's small, but he has knockout power for sure. He's a brute force as well. Asu Amabayev, that's not a bad loss. Got decisioned. Vinicius, decision win. Daniel Cerda KO. Taitsuro Tara. So it looks like his losses actually aren't that bad, and he's beaten people that are lower. But I think that Edgar Chairez, he's really tough. He lost to Van, but he had his success in that fight. Daniel Cerda win as well. Taitsuro Tara. It looks like they're fighting a lot of the same guys. By looking at it, Edgar Chairez, I feel like he's just a tougher guy. Even though CJ Vergara is tough, I'd say Edgar Chairez, he just has more tools in his belt. I think his submission game is better. I think his stand-up is better. And I think he just has more intensity. CJ Vergara looks, just by looking at his stats, it seems like he can put the pace. And it did seem like Chairez was fading late against Joshua Van. But that is Joshua Van. CJ Vergara actually has a decent win in Clayton Rodriguez, which is kind of similar to Chairez in a way. Both these guys are tough, but I feel like Chairez, let's just take a look at his finishes. 4 knockouts, 7 submissions, 0 by decision. You know what? This guy is a finisher. I feel like Chairez might be able to find something. Honestly, I'm going to change the pick to Chairez by decision. I think that this fight could end in finish, though, but probably the safer option. So give me Chairez by decision. Next fight up, Ronaldo Rodriguez versus Kevin Borjas. Ronaldo Rodriguez, he's a minus 150. I'd say Borjas is pretty decent. Looks like a lot of people are picking Rodriguez. I think that Rodriguez really lucked out on his last fight against Ode Osborne. Let's just take a look at the odds. Let's just take a look at the stats real quick. Looks like he got dropped. He was getting pieced up. I mean, I remember this fight, but not vividly. Got dropped, got hurt, recovered, found the decision win. Bondar win is good just because he ended up finding the submission. Lost in his Contender Series fight, so it seems like he got a free UFC contract even though he lost his Contender Series fight, which is a bit weird. And he didn't even look that good probably with 19 significant strikes. But Kevin Borjas lost to Costa, got knocked out early. Yeah, honestly, I feel like Ronaldo Rodriguez, he is going to be the pick here just because he is tough. He can survive a lot. Borjas seems like he is finishable. Van was piecing him up really bad. Costa was piecing him up. Seems like if you bring the intensity, you bring the output, you're going to be able to either find a good success or finish Borjas. So the pick is going to be Rodriguez. I do think that Rodriguez isn't some crazy finisher, but let's just take a quick look. 7 knockouts, 5 submissions. So, I mean, he actually is a pretty good finisher. You know, I feel like Borjas, he looked really bad in his last fight, really didn't do anything. So I think that maybe the crowd, maybe the intensity, maybe the hype, Rodriguez might be able to find something here, but I don't think that he's that good. I think the odds kind of show that he isn't that favored in this fight. Borjas maybe be able to do something, but the pick is going to be Rodriguez by KO, by him finding a way to win. But I could definitely see this fight going decision. Next fight up, David Martinez versus Simon Oliveira. Looks like Martinez is a minus 400 favorite. I've never seen either of these guys. Martinez seems like he's getting set up to win because Oliveira is coming off 2 losses in the UFC 2 years ago, 3 years ago. He's off a 2-year layoff, which is a bit odd, and I don't know how this fight's on the main card, but seems like Martinez, he's coming off a Contender Series win 5 months ago, which is just like, it doesn't really make any sense to me when these Contender Series guys are like a minus 400, minus 500. Like, it's just being set up to, they're getting set up to win, but oftentimes I feel like they are a bit fraudy. They're not proven. If you haven't had any fights in the UFC, I feel like most of your wins don't mean shit unless you're looking crazy good, you have that it factor, or you're in a different promotion like Cage Warriors or PFL, or just something that makes the wins somewhat good. Daniel Marcos is not a bad loss as well, though. Contender Series split win. Seems like maybe it seems like the people he's fighting aren't that bad. 2-0, not long ago 5-1. I mean, it looks like he's not really beating anybody that good. So minus 400, just based off of looking at this, I'd say that he isn't really deserving of that price tag. 79 significant strikes. His Contender Series decision win. He doesn't look like he's necessarily like some world beater, but he has 9 knockouts, and you're really not knocking out some Contender Series guy. I think the odds are off. Plus 310 seems maybe alright on this guy, but he is coming off a 2-year layoff. He is coming off a knockout loss, but 2 years ago he's recovered enough. He could be rusty. He doesn't probably look that good either, but both these guys look probably similar level. This Contender Series guy should definitely not be minus 400. His 9 knockout wins, let's just take a look. I mean, 2-2, 0. A lot of these guys aren't crazy high level. I don't feel like he's fighting 2-0 and when he's 7-1. So I mean, that kind of just shows that he's not really fighting great guys. Definitely pass on the minus 400. I feel like I'll take a look at the tape later on in the week, but I feel like Oliveira could be a decent spot actually. Plus 310. I feel like he could be alright. Early lean is going to be Martinez by decision, but it easily could switch just by taking a look at how they actually fight. Next fight up, Raul Rosas Jr. versus Vinc Morales. Raul Rosas Jr., he's a minus 310 favorite, and I honestly think that that's really good odds on Rosas. Rosas, he honestly isn't like crazy good, but he has really good wrestling, or he just has the will to win. Taking a look at his last fight, it was a really boring fight. I remember that. He got 3 takedowns. Let's see if he just got one each round. Now it looks like second round. That was the round that he lost. I'm pretty sure. Yeah, he lost that second round by not going for or not getting a takedown. But he has good control. He has good submissions. I think that Vince Morales is probably going to be tough enough to survive um, his submission game. Seems like he's submitting people who are on the lower side. Vince Morales, his last fight was against Elijah Smith. That was a closer fight. Both had some takedowns. I feel like Vince Morales is tough. This could be something similar to Christian Rodriguez when Raul Rosas fought him, but I don't think that Vince Morales has the skills to be able to piece him up on the feet. I think Rosas Jr. will keep going for the takedowns, and I think that he'll get the takedowns probably each round. I do see this fight going to the decision. I think Vince Morales is tough enough. I think he's gritty enough, and I think that Raul Rosas Jr. he definitely has a chance to gas out later in the fight. If he's definitely gets some takedown stuff, he could be in trouble, but I think that he'll be able to get the takedowns because I think he's just evolving. He's getting older. He's 20 now. He's getting better. Vince Morales could be the party pooper here, but I think that the crowd are just going to be back in Rosas. I think he'll get the takedowns. It might not be that entertaining. Could find a submission maybe, but I see this fight going to decision. So give me Rosas by decision with pretty decent confidence that he wins. Next fight up, Kelvin Gastelum versus Joe Pyfer. Honestly, this should be just like a easy wash for Pyfer. Gastelum, he is coming off a win against Daniel Rodriguez, but he ended up taking him down, getting that win like that. He had 4 takedowns in that fight, went back and forth on the feet. I feel like I remember this one being a little bit closer than 30-27, 30-27, 29-28, but Gastelum, he lost to Sean Brady, which Brady has shown that he's a really good grappler. So 5 takedowns. The loss against Brady isn't that bad. He beat Chris Curtis, which is a good win, I'd say. But I don't know. I feel like Gastelum, he just outgunned everywhere. I think that Joe Pyfer, he's just going to be able to. I think that Joe Pyfer is probably going to knock him out or finish him. I mean, he's a finisher. Gastelum hasn't really been finished like a lot. I don't think 3 submission losses, which you know what, Pyfer might look for the takedowns and submission, or maybe Gastelum is just weak in his submission game. But I'm really confident in Pyfer here. I think on the feet he's gonna be able to knock him out if he stays on the feet. I think that he's improved his cardio. Minus 550 odds is good because I think that he's just gonna win by finish. Gastelum, he has been good. He used to be really good before, but I think he's just tailing out a little bit. I don't feel like he has the full commitment. He really hasn't really had full commitment in his career. I think that this fight being at 185 makes it even worse. I mean, Pyfer ain't making 170, but Gastelum, I don't think he should be fighting at 185. Yeah, Gastelum is just going to be outgunned everywhere. I think that Pyfer can get the takedowns. I think Pyfer can knock him out on the feet. I think Pyfer can find the submission. Worst comes to worst, he wins by decision. I don't see how Gastelum wins this fight. He is proven tough. He is proven vet, but I don't know. I think he's just outgunned everywhere. He's proven to lose to guys who are a little bit more explosive than him. Daniel Rodriguez isn't some crazy powerful guy. He's a volume guy. Chris Curtis, kind of a volume guy. Losing a lot of these fights. Hasn't fought like a crazy amount. I think that Pyfer is looking to look for the title run. He's honestly looked pretty good other than Hermansson where he gassed out. But that was a 5-rounder. Hermansson isn't like insanely good. But honestly, just a flub from Pyfer, but I think he's going to bounce back, especially with his knockout win against Marc-Andre Barriault. That was a really good win. So give me Pyfer by knockout, probably earlier in the fight, but Gastelum could show his toughness, but pretty confident in Pyfer. Heading straight into the co-main event, Manuel Torres versus Drew Dober. This is a really good fight. I'm really confident in this fight ending in finish, simply because both these guys bring it. Drew Dober has got the crimson chin. He is just that guy. Brings it every single time. He's really tough. He lost a decision against Moicano, which Moicano is a top level guy. On Silva, he seems like he's that knockout guy. He was a doctor stoppage, but he was taking some big shots. Which just kind of just shows that his chin isn't gone, but he is getting older. Manuel Torres, he also brings it, but he did just get knocked out in his last fight. He kind of is a lot more reckless than Drew Dober. Drew Dober, I think that he'll probably be able to eat whatever Manuel Torres brings. I think that the only problem would be for Dober is if this fight goes to the ground, he might be outgunned there. Taking a look at it, Ignacio dropped Torres twice. Torres, he honestly is just like a powerhouse. He brings the heat. I think that this fight, if it ends in the first round, it's probably going to be Torres getting finished just because I feel like Dober is tough enough to at least survive one round. And I don't know if Torres has like some insane power, but he definitely just out athleticism his opponents, and he honestly just out grits them. See, I feel like just by talking about it, I feel like I'm liking Dober more and more. Him actually at minus 105 odds might be pretty good because somebody's gonna freaking go to the death. I feel like Dober's gonna end up on top. I think that Dober is gonna be a little bit more technical, a little bit more wary of Torres' power, and I think the Torres is just going to be like a madman coming out. So the pick is going to be Dober by knockout. I think that he'll probably knock him out in the first or second round, but Torres, he is tough himself, but I think he just gets caught a little bit too much. Last fight up, the main event, Brandon Moreno versus Steve Erceg. Honestly, Steve Erceg, he got really rushed into the UFC. Just taking a look at his stats, fought David Dvorak, won by decision. Seemed kind of close. Had to get takedowns to win that fight. Costa, he pieced them up. I think he lost a round in the third round, I believe. Maybe gassed out a little bit. Or I'm not sure if he was the first or third. But yeah, he lost one round. Matt Schnell knocks him out. Matt Schnell is really chinny. Lost to Pantoja, but that was a really close fight. He could have even won the belt at that moment. But I feel like he gets a little bit too much credit for that fight. I feel like a lot of people in the 125 division can give Pantoja a run for his money, but Pantoja just always outgrits everybody. This fight was really close, but Pantoja just time and time again shows that he just is able to just outgrit people, whether it's by a little bit, whether it's by a lot. So this fight being close, I feel like he deserves credit for this fight being close and him only fighting. Him only having 3 fights in the UFC and him going neck and neck with Pantoja. He just got knocked out by Kaikar of France not too long ago. I'd say that Kaikar of France, he is good. He's got good power. He's really fast. And I feel like if you're getting outspeeded by Kaikar of France that bad, then I don't know how fast you are because Moreno, he ain't slow himself. I'd say Moreno, he's coming off a great win against Amir Albazi. Pieced them up the whole time. I think that Amir Albazi win was really good, but Amir Albazi was coming off an injury. I think he had neck surgery and then he had back surgery, and he's coming off like a 2-year layoff. So this win was really great, but Amir Albazi definitely wasn't at his best, had ring rust. But I think that he's just had neck and neck with just everybody at the top, or he's dominated them. So I mean, he dominated Amir Albazi, went neck and neck with Rival, and I feel like it was a split decision. I thought he actually won this fight, but easily could have went to Rival, and it did. Pantoja split decision. I think that Erceg, he's not gonna get this fight to the ground, and I think that if Moreno wants to get to this fight to the ground, he can. I think on the feet, if Moreno's not having a success, he'll just go for the takedowns. He's a smart fighter. He's looking to get his belt back, and I think that he definitely can make a run. I think if he wins this fight, he's going to get the next title shot. And Pantoja, honestly, he definitely is beatable, but I'd say that he probably would edge out Moreno. But Steve Erceg, I feel like he's just not going to be good enough on the feet, and I think he won't be able to stuff the takedowns if Moreno goes for them. So I think that Moreno probably will be the cleaner striker in this matchup. I mean, Erceg, it looks good. He is good. He's a top guy for sure, but they're not even actually. Moreno seems like he's so much older because he has so much more fight years on him, but he's only 2-year difference. less than that actually. A lot of people are picking Moreno, 82%, which might be a little bit much, but minus 195 odds I feel like is pretty good on Moreno just because he's having a lot of confidence coming off of that win against Amir Albazi. Erceg is coming off a knockout loss 7 months ago. Took his time, but I think that Erceg, maybe he was a little bit too overhyped off of that close fight against Pantoja. Moreno, he's been there with everybody. He's proven himself. His losses, he's always had close fights. He isn't getting demolished. He's not getting knocked out. So I think that if Erceg wins, he's going to squeak out a decision. But I think that Moreno can show his veteranship in this fight by piecing him up, maybe finding good success on the feet, getting takedowns. I think that he definitely will mix in takedowns just because he's an overall fighter. I think the finishing side is definitely going to be on Moreno, but I think this fight will go to decision. So the early pick is going to be Moreno by decision. Feeling pretty good about Moreno. That's going to be my early thoughts on Brandon Moreno versus Steve Erceg. Thanks for watching.